All right, so good evening, everyone from Israel. Today is Sunday, November 12th, 2023. I think this is the 36th day of the war in Israel. I decided, just like I do every now and then, first of all, I'd like to welcome everybody who joined any of our social media outlets. We'll really try to just break down the news, not only from Israel, from the front line, from the center, but from someone who knows a little bit about terrorism and counterterrorism and Middle Eastern studies for years and decades before this thing ever started. And this thing was destined to happen. We're in the middle of war that hasn't really started yet. I will elaborate a little later about why not, but the sole purpose of these live broadcasts are to just show you what happened today in Israel from the I don't want to say social media side, but from where really information is uncensored. And also at the same time, especially those of you who don't live in Israel, those of you who feel empathy for the people of Israel and share their suffering with them, and they're from countries that, unfortunately, their media don't really give them much or give them just one side of the narrative, and it's very very hard to keep up to date with the truth. And you have to understand, a lot of people ask me, it's like, well, you're not allowing Arabs or Muslims into your group. No, that's not true. Okay, you have to understand, and you really really have to understand, this is not about that at all. This is not an Islamophobic group. It's not about anti-Arab. It's not about anti-Muslims. In fact, to ever even say that would be doing such an injustice with the brave men and women who happen to be Arab Muslims who are right now risking their lives fighting the very same Hamas, the very same evil that Israel is fighting. So, in the end of the day, it's about giving you the truth and fighting justice. So we're automatically pro-American and pro-Israel because we side with the good guys. Okay, and if you want to come into that group and like support Hamas and support Gaza and call the IDF child killers and all these things, then you don't belong here because you're not promoting the truth. You're promoting lie narratives, and we just experienced such tragedy that we can't even comprehend, and nobody even wants to go back and remember all these terrible videos that we saw. So really, with these live updates, I just want to give you some stuff that I gathered about today. Okay, so I want to do it daily because things develop so fast. So I have a few subjects. Let's see where to start. Um, okay, so first of all, the first subject I wanted to talk about is the IDF and moral army. Right now, unfortunately, in the world, um, a lot of evil is rising up and hitting the streets. And why am I saying evil? Is because you talking about people who don't really care about the war or civilians, or you talking about people who always deep in their heart they wanted to kill Jewish people. They never really had the opportunity or the ability to go out there since 1945, since Nazi Germany ceased from existing. They never had the guts to do it, but now they're flooding the streets. And let me make something very clear, because in Israeli media they make it seem like there's anti-Semitism worldwide. Okay, like the whole world is anti-Israel, like all the Christians of the world, the Christian in Europe, or the average American is anti-Israel because what's going on in Gaza, just because they see hundreds of thousands of people in the streets with the Palestinian flags. A lot of them are wearing Hamas headbands, so they're pro Hamas, and they're in the thousands, dozens of thousands, all over Europe's. That was all over social media. You can look at it. I think it was today in London. There was over 300,000 people, and the chants. And I want to show you later on some of the things that are said in this so-called protest, because that's not that's vandalism. That's uprising, a very dangerous, fanatical uprising. And again, I'm not saying everybody there, but from the signs, from the rhetorics, from the ignorance, from the fact that you just pick a side and you don't even care about the truth. This is something we're trying to avoid. This is something we're trying to fight, and justice is what we're trying to promote. This is all it's about. So let's start with the IDF, moral army. So the whole world is talking about, the IDF is committing so-called genocide in Gaza, and they're purposely targeting civilians, and they're purposely just trying to dislocate people from their homes, and they're committing horrific crimes, and they're just running this narrative. The only media outlet who don't buy into these narratives are the media outlets from the right, like Fox News, and then they know the truth. The IDF, when this war started, from day one and until today, I've never heard of a longer ultimatum that we've seen in this Gaza Strip. It started with 48 hours. You know, the they dropped flyers from the airplane, in tens of thousands of them, warning in Arabic, telling these people, "Hey, Hamas is using your neighborhoods for to launch rockets. Hamas is using your neighborhoods to build tunnels. Hamas is using your mosques, your schools, your kindergarten, you name it." I mean, you have to understand, and I'm going to show you some videos. Hamas has not taken over the people of Gaza as human shields, but the whole Gaza, on its infrastructure, on its hospitals, on its kindergarten, on its doctor's offices, cultural, whatever they have there, is used for terrorism. And the IDF is now going street to street, house to house, mile after mile, very cautiously, very carefully. Everything is booby trapped. And at the same time, trying to evacuate the civilians who, some of them wanted to leave. But Hamas was setting up checkpoints, and they shot people. They shot other Palestinians who wanted to leave south. They wanted to spare their lives because, you know what? Though the vast majority are Hamas supporters in Gaza, let's not sugarcoat it, okay? These people are just as vicious. These people have Hamas in their hearts. And of course, now they're going to cry and cry because they lost their homes. But these people housed Hamas. But let's just say some of them are not involved in the fighting. Some of them are children. Some of them are elderly. Some of them really just want to work and bring bread home, okay? They had 48 hours. They was extended to 7 days, and then 2 weeks. And then we go in 36 days since the beginning of the war. These people had the warning, the proper warning, and the courier to just leave south unharmed, and some of them refused to do so, and some of them are doing it now. So right now you have almost 1 million people who made the right decision leaving the fighting areas. So the IDF will simply confront the enemy. If the IDF wanted to commit genocide in Gaza, if we really wanted to wipe off Gaza off the face of the earth, if the IDF really, really wanted to do it, if Benjamin Netanyahu, if the state of Israel, if the Israeli people as people wanted the people of Gaza dead, genocide, right? It wouldn't have taken 36 days. Trust me, it would have taken not even 36 hours to be completed, to be done and over with. But it's a narrative that is very, very hard for Israel to explain to the world, because we are with the might, we are with the tanks, we are with the technologies, we are the ones who invest in science and innovation and morals and values and education, while the other side's role model is the suicide bomber. The other side's career uh, aspiration is to be a so-called freedom fighter, meaning a terrorist, because peace was offered throughout the generations. They're the ones who always refused. And if you don't believe me, go do your research and see that, I always said the Palestinians never missed an opportunity to miss an opportunity. So let's start by seeing how the IDF. So I'm going to play a video. Okay, it's most of these podcasts is about videos of what happened today. Some of them are short. Some of them I will fast forward. Hebrew interviews. Well, some of you actually speak Hebrew, so I will leave those. But I will describe here and there what we're seeing, even though you obviously are not blind and you can see exactly. But for some of you who don't understand the situation or where is it taking place, I will say a few words, and we will start with how immoral or cruel or brutal military the IDF soldiers are. And of course, I'm being sarcastic. Here we go.
We will let them pass.
So we're going to start from the beginning here. This is Gaza. Civilians who wanted to leave. Of course, they're getting water from the IDF.
Doctor.
One of the soldiers calling a doctor to make sure all these people simply just walked in the beach.
מאמץ הומניטרי,
Giving them
גדוד
food,
17,
water.
צה"ל, רצועת עזה.
בוא תעזור לנו כאן עם
see a
הדוקטור,
genocide.
להבין מה הם רוצות, הילד מרגיש פה...
The doctor kid didn't feel well. They got a military doctor to come. We're all talking to them. No yelling, no violence, no beheading anybody. Right? And we're in war right now with these people. We're in war with these people. I want you guys to show it. Share this so everybody will see the truth. This is the reality. This is the face of the idea. Listen to
זה
this guy.
חשוד, זה כחול.
Speak in English.
כן.
Do you think Hamas terrorists cared about our babies didn't feel well? They shot them in the head after they raped their women. That's what the other side is thinking humanitarian. Again, we're seeing here on the western part of Gaza, Gaza Beach. Civilians who decided to evacuate are being treated with respect.
I don't have number.
They're all sitting there,
Okay.
sleeping. Nobody's torturing them, nobody's arresting them. They're not involved. They're civilians. That's how we treat civilians of the war. If you hide civilians in your homes with terrorists and rockets, that home is bombed. Who's responsible? Only the
מי מגיע?
So these all raw footage.
No, no,
It's not acting. This is from the battlefield. One gentleman was speaking English right now. One of the officers explained.
This humanitarian passageway is to allow us, IDF, to attack Gaza and the Hamas only. Only the Hamas, not the Gazan citizens. We allow the women and the children this humanitarian passageway so we can continue with our job to attack the Hamas and to defeat him. This enemy and what he did to us Israelis is unforgivable, and we will not forget this, and we will attack him until the end. But the Gaza citizens are not to blame. They are not to blame. We will let them pass, and this is the humanitarian passageway you can see right here. אנחנו לא כמוהם, לא כמוהם, את הנשים ואת הילדים שלהם. אנחנו נפנה מאזור הלחימה, אנחנו נתקוף ונשמיד את חמאס, את התשתיות שלו, את כל חמאס אנחנו נשמיד, על מה שהם עשו לנו ב7 לאוקטובר. לא יהיה פה זכר לחמאס הזה. ותזכרו, אנחנו לא כמוהם. חמאס הביא את המלחמה הזאת על עצמו, כפה עלינו את המלחמה. אנחנו נשמיד אותו ונקטוש את האויב הזה, אבל את הנשים ואת הילדים שלו אנחנו נפנה מאזור הלחימה. אנחנו לא כמוהם.
So just to show you guys, this is what's going on right now in Gaza. It's very, very, anybody who's been in the military, any military expert, you ask, what can possibly for a soldier be the hardest type of battlefield, and they're all going to tell you, um, Gaza. Okay, right now Gaza is most likely the most complicated battlefield for any military to handle. You know, unlike the Ukraine, you know, people forget there's still a war, a massive war happening in Ukraine right now between Ukraine and Russia. We don't talk about it much, but if you want to talk about war criminals, look what's going on between Russia and Ukraine. But anyways, going back to Gaza, so between Russia and Ukraine, you know, the fight on huge, just desolated lands and forests, and it's like old school, like, you know, World War II, World War One type wars. And while right now in Gaza, I mean, you're talking, I live, and I'm in central Israel, okay? I live like about 25, 30 minutes drive from Gaza, from the border. I mean, I hear the explosions. We hear them every day. So it's a tiny country. Now, Gaza is the most crowded area on earth. It is. It's 2.1 million people in an area that is the size of a mid-sized neighborhood, I guess, in a city. So just to get this under perspective, so it's very crowded, and it's infested with terrorists. Most of Gaza is booby trapped. Now that's the Gaza on top, so you have snipers everywhere. So I'm going to play you a video of how the IDF is actually, you know, handling this house-to-house war. At the same time, trying their best not to target civilians, as you saw, but they need to locate the terrorists. They need to locate the tunnels, you know, the entries to the tunnels, the entry points. And at the same time, they have to arrest people so they can get some live intelligence on the hostages and possible locations. So there's so many elements that are taken into consideration into this war, and it's a modern warfare. So you're going to see some of that stuff, and you'll be like, wow, you know, it's just like well, you know, Call of Duty, one of these video games that you see. So this is the IDF right now. The IDF spokesman officially released this footage of how they go house to house in Gaza, how they're all working together, the armored brigades and the infantry. So just please watch. Okay, that was the end of it. Let me just play from the beginning. And you can this is not a drill. This is not all these explosions, all these bombings are on Hamas outposts, Hamas bunkers, Hamas weapon depots, and of course you have Hamas terrorists and snipers in the buildings. So the IDF is taking care of it and moving very slowly. Now the IDF is pretty much took over Gaza, not all of it, not the core part, not the really crowded area where most of the terrorists, and Hamas right now has still, there are 30,000 strong armed fighters, and some of them are trained, some of them are highly trained. We never underestimate the enemy. If we underestimate the enemy, this is why we have October 7th. We just didn't think they can do it. We didn't think they were brave enough to do it. We didn't think they were cruel and vicious enough to do it. So the fighting right now is really in the heart of Gaza. The IDF is surrounded, the hospitals, and again, people use it. It's almost like a politically correct word. Yes, it is a hospital, but at the same time, it's the high command post of Hamas. Their lead commanders are underneath these hospitals. And the reason they're underneath these hospitals are because they know that Israel, just like I showed you in the first part, because we're a moral military, we're a very moral army, we do not just bomb hospitals. Otherwise, these hospitals wouldn't be operating by now, 36 days after. So the IDF is going to do what's right and not what it's capable of doing. And it's going to go house to house. They're sieging the hospitals. They're running out of fuel. And by the way, today, also news from today, the IDF and Netanyahu, he had an interview to the CNN. And oh God, I'm telling you, the CNN, they're vicious. They're making Netanyahu just like he started it. They interview Netanyahu like Netanyahu was the head of Hamas and not the one fighting Hamas. But Netanyahu mentioned that we offer them, gas, fuel for their hospitals, for their generators, but that's it, for that purpose only, because that's all they need it for, and they refuse. And then there's a lot of video footage from nurses and staff from this hospital blaming that Hamas is taking everything from these hospitals for its terrorist fighters who are wounded in the battlefield. So they're taking medication, they're taking equipment, they're taking every equipment they need to take care of their wounded, leaving the actual Gazan citizen to stay with nothing. They're taking, steal their fuel. So it's a problem. It's an evil. It's just like the battle for Mosul, Iraq against ISIS. It's a battle that you really just need to go in there and clean house. And the people are saying that the IDF is targeting civilians. This is lies and propaganda. First of all, the IDF never started this war. We're retaliating. You took 240 of our people, of our citizens, and some foreign citizens, but people who were in Israel, under Israeli sovereignty, under Israeli protection. You took him and kidnapped them into Gaza. What do you expect? Not to wage war against you, not to try to get them out, not to try to make you pay. And then on top of that, you murdered viciously 1,400 people. You know, they only were able to identify 843 of them. Some of them are still, they cannot. They got to come, even DNA, they cannot take for some of these bodies. And to see some of these anti-Semitic, pro-Hamas people all over the world claiming like these events never happened. You know, just like the Holocaust survivors. Some of them saying there was never the Holocaust. You can ask some Arabs, about 60% of Muslim Arabs in the West Bank, Judea and Samaria, and in Gaza. Well, in Gaza, higher numbers. You ask them, do you believe in the Holocaust? They'll be like, no, it's a lie. It doesn't matter if you show them pictures. It doesn't matter if you show them videos. It doesn't matter if you have survivors with the number tattooed on their arm. It does not matter. Because for their own narrative, they will lie to you. They are commanded and obligated to lie to you. If you're an infidel, and this is what we're dealing with. So we're dealing with people that play victims, play poor. And I'm going to show you, speaking of, there's a video, a pretty entertaining video of, let me see if I can find it really quick, of a Hamas, I think it was a Hamas terrorist who really wanted to evacuate. And what he did, he was dressed up. He dressed himself up like he was badly hurt. And he was caught up by other people who I guess needed that hospital bed. And they were trying in Arabic to tell him, what are you doing? What are you acting up? And so some of the terrorists, those cowards, when they know the IDF is outside with their tanks and brave soldiers, they would not go out and fight like they promised, like they all show up in their video clips. But they act up like they're sick and injured, just not to get caught or have to fight. So watch this. So what you just watched was somebody really just trying to make himself look like he's badly hurt and injured in order to avoid fighting uh, with the Israeli soldiers. Now I want to show you a disturbing thing that happened today. The president of Israel, Yitzhak Herzog, was speaking, and he was speaking to the I think he was speaking to the world media, and he was showing something that was found in Gaza in a bedroom in one of the homes where Hamas terrorists were hiding. So let me show you that. That was Hitler's Mein Kampf book. So when we say Hamas are Nazis or their Nazi-like agenda, and everybody who supports Hamas pretty much supports Nazism and the destruction and elimination of the Jews, and I'm talking about a physical elimination of the Jews. So he was showing that somebody really just wrote down instructions of, how to identify a Jew, how do you kill a Jew, like what the Jews are trying to do. Like he had Hitler's book, and he had the Palestinian version of it in Arabic here. And that's really disturbing because this is what we're seeing outside in the street right now. And in the next clip, you'll see, I think it was in London, if I'm not mistaken, either London or in the United States. It doesn't matter because it's everywhere right now. But there is a girl there, a lady, and watch what she's saying.
Killers! Killers! Death to all the Jews!
Killers, killers, death to all the Jews. She didn't say death to the Israelis or death to those IDF soldiers who live in Gaza because I feel like you are committing crimes in Gaza. She didn't say death to those who don't believe in peace. She said death to all the Jews. Even the Jews who live somewhere, I don't know, in Japan or in Australia or in America. Death to all the Jews. We see in rhetorics that is very, very, very disturbing. And I wanted to play you that earlier. Another one, so I'm going to move to this anti-Semitism. The world is showing its evil face. Like I said in the beginning, in European capitals, the millions that came after the so-called Arab Spring, especially from Syria, Libya, Tunisia, all Egypt, all these Arab countries, and especially from Syria, Iraq, all these countries that Barack Obama, stupidly enough, tore apart from their natural dynamic and caused the chaos. In Europe, just because they wanted cheap labor force, just because the Germans didn't want to work the factories, they said, hey, we can bring them, they can work our factories. We can go back to be Germany. The factories will be in full capacity. They didn't realize that they have people who are going to come there and not feel belong, but feel people who are about to take over. It's just a matter of time. So instead of working in their factories, they all became refugees on welfare. They all have their own neighborhoods. If you go to Belgium, some neighborhoods in Belgium used to be such a beautiful Western European country. And now you see that all these people who seeked refuge in these countries, and these countries took them in, including the United States of America. Well, the United States of America actually never took them in. Some of them they did, but a lot of them just coming freely out of the southern border of the United States. It's open. Anybody who wants to go, find you a caravan and you're in. And then you'll even be given a bus to go anywhere you want in a so-called sanctuary city. And then it doesn't matter if you're a Chinese spy, it doesn't matter if you're Al-Qaeda terrorist, it doesn't matter if you're a head of Hamas. You came through the southern border, and we're never going to deport you, we're never going to catch you, and we're never going to enforce anything against you. So this is the situation in the world. So these people show their numbers, show their agenda, show their behavior past. Some of them are just tearing down flags of the local country who took him in and destroying monuments to remind you like the riots that we had in America, and they're trying to put Islamic symbols on some monuments that are Christian or monuments that are European. And we have to open our eyes to this, guys, because we can close our eyes and still be politically correct and believe in diversity. No, we're all supposed to be equal, but unfortunately, we're not all equal. Because I never see myself, nor my children, or my loved ones ever, not only killing somebody, coming even close to threatening to kill somebody, but yet you have other people who shoot a whole family and then burn them alive and then cut the baby's heads. You tell me that we are equal? Not at all. So the world is going crazy with these protests, and it's going to get worse and worse and worse because I'm telling you, we haven't even started the real war. So brace yourself. There's a lot of American forces here. Things are bubbling. It's about to explode. So let's see what we can hear. I wanted to show you a video. There was like a street fight in Australia. There was a protest, but then it happened in an Israeli, I think, or a Jewish neighborhood. So then, people started colliding, and I think it's this one. So this was a fight. So look how
Pepper spray's down.
we're getting right now.
Stay back. Stay back.
Shame on the police! Shame on Victoria!
Shame on you! Show him who came in! Show him!
This is happening everywhere. And what are these people really doing? These people who go and it's not even protesting against Israel, it's protesting pro-Hamas. And when you have people that still haven't woken up after what happened October 7th, then really there is no hope. So I had one more video to show you. So let's move to what's going on in the north. So we looked over here. Okay, so this is the subject. Now, from Gaza today and in the past few days, we are hardly seeing rockets coming. They do come. I mean, you can count them in one hand, and most of them are the short-range rockets and mortars usually towards where the IDF is right now in the Gaza vicinity in the southern Israel, where, by the way, you're talking about dislocated civilians. There are 250,000 Israelis that are dislocated for their homes, both in the north and in southern Israel. So it's not just the Palestinians having to leave their homes, okay? We also have civilians. 1,400 of them died unprovoked. These people dying today, and it's unfortunate. To me, aside from the terrorists, it's very sad and unfortunate to see people not even die, suffering. I don't like to see that. When you seek justice for all. But at the same time, you condemn and fight terrorism. I lost a lot of friends. People thinking like, well, you pro-Israel. I mean, yeah, of course I'm pro-Israel. And I don't have to be an Israeli or Jewish or I would have been pro-Israel just if I had a common sense, if I had a conscience, So, and the moral compass, you have to be pro-Israel when it comes to what happened. If not, there's something wrong with you. There's something terribly wrong with you. So there's a lot of protests right now going on, and they're getting violence. I mean, I'm telling you guys, and if people in the West, people who are just America, they have nothing to do with Judaism or Israel, people who live in Europe, and they're Christians, and if you think you're safe, if you think that you're not next, then you got something coming. I'm working on getting an interview with somebody who produced films, documentaries. They're pretty good independent documentaries, but they made waves. And at the time, years and years ago, when I watched them and I was studying Middle Eastern studies, I could really relate to these documentaries because they're really prophetic. They're not really, and even it says in the beginning of them, nothing is against Muslims, it's just against terrorism and what they're planning, and they're quoting imams in the mosques, promising to take over the world. So they were just foreseeing events that we are seeing right now. foreseeing events that we are seeing right now. So I'm trying to get an interview for this podcast with this director and really be like, hey, you're seeing your movies coming alive. What do you think? So this is what's going on. So the world is really, really bubbling right now. The Middle East is at the boiling spot, and I'm telling you, we haven't seen anything yet. Like when the big war starts, Israel's going to face 5 to 6 fronts, if not more, or even 7 or 8 or 9 fronts, and I'm not exaggerating. And it's going to turn biblical really quick in here. And whether the U.S. want it or not, they'll be involved. Even if the U.S. decide, it's not our war, the Shia militias of Iran, the Shia-backed militias of Iran will make it their problem and their war. And that's why we have all these forces here. And I have to tell you, a lot of people ask me about Gaza, and Gaza is like, listen, this is the symptom. This is you just having the pain. The problem is the cancer. And the cancer is Iran, Hezbollah, the Houthis in Yemen, those who really have some modern North Korean military technology, some Russian technology, and Iranian technology, and I wouldn't underestimate any of those. Every day now, up until yesterday and today, they've been launching drones from Yemen, and one of them actually almost hit Eilat and was intercepted by our Arrow 3 missile defense system above the atmosphere. A drone came from Syria, apparently, hit a school in Eilat, undetected, all the way through Jordan. So Israel is tiny. You have to understand, Israel is tiny. It's only 20 miles wide and about 300 miles long. That's it. That's the state of Israel. And most of it is populated in the center where we at. So everything is tiny, and we have overwhelming armies surrounding us. All of them are boycotting us. All of them are the rhetoric is a war rhetoric right now. All of them. Turkey, Jordan, Egypt, Lebanon, Syria, what's left of Syria, Iraq, Iran, Yemen, Hezbollah. So Hezbollah today have taken it to the next level. And up until now, they're trying to keep the IDF bothered and occupied at the same time while we are operating in Gaza against Hamas, ISIS. And they were launching anti-tank missiles, Stinger missiles, towards Israeli military posts on the border, towards observation towers, communication centers. They were trying to keep the IDF busy. The IDF would retaliate each time. Actually, there are 70-some Hezbollah terrorists that are killed. There are about 6 or 8 IDF soldiers killed. But every day, it looks like Hezbollah is trying to push the IDF even more in the state of Israel. They're going right on the verge of war or all-out war, and every day they're adding more fuel to the fire. And I think it's a very dangerous situation because a lot of people don't know Hezbollah's capabilities. And with an all-out war with Hezbollah, it's automatically going to be a war with all the Shiites in Syria, Western Iraq, because there's also a Hezbollah organization in Iraq, Yemen, and of course, the Arabs who live in the so-called West Bank, Judea and Samaria, and Israel will uprise. I see a lot of people from Jordan. I see the embassy in Egypt, in Cairo, the Israeli embassy being set on fire. Same for Istanbul, Turkey. There will be a lot of persecution of Jews all over the world. I'm not giving you some scary prophetic scenario for what something's going to happen a few years from now. I'm telling you that what's exactly going to happen according to their enemy social media that I monitor, according to people I talk to, according to army intelligence. When Hezbollah is in all-out full war with Israel, yes, is going to destroy the country of Lebanon, completely annihilate the country of Lebanon, which Hezbollah is part of and part of its government. So they are responsible for everything that's coming out of there. Okay, we are a sovereign country. They can't just shoot at us and expect us not to retaliate, or they cannot take advantage of the fact that we are fighting Hamas to try to, attack us and start a war. But again, we're going to annihilate Lebanon. But a war with Hezbollah will bring Israel 20 to 30 years or 40 years backwards. Hezbollah has precise weapons, precise cruise missiles, drones, just like the type you see in Ukraine. And of course, they have GPS guided ballistic missiles for short, medium range. And some of them are already aimed at very Israeli important infrastructures. And note, Israel is so tiny, it doesn't have many infrastructures. I mean, some of our infrastructures are like if one is hurt, the whole country suffers, especially the electric. So Hezbollah is increasing the tension. Today, we had the people from the electrical company fixing some damages that Hezbollah caused in the prior day. And Hezbollah terrorists targeted these civilians workers, civilians electrical workers, and 6 of them, and I know 2 of them are fighting for their lives, 6 of them are badly hurt. And these are pictures from the scene of what happened in northern Israel, right on the border with Lebanon. Watch. Sorry, that's the wrong video. Let's see here. That's the video, right there. So this was northern Lebanon. I apologize. And this is the aftermath of what happened when Hezbollah launched an anti-tank missile on a civilian technician convoy fixing the power poles. So just to sum things up, guys, to let you know, the IDF retaliated to this attack with a very, very limited and small retaliation with artillery, which indicates that we most likely expecting a larger scale attack on Lebanon or Syria or any of other Iran's proxies. And again, every day now, you're about to hear about a game changer, either when it comes to the hostages, because we're taking a lot of Hamas terrorists into custody, and these are live intelligence. And live intelligence usually will be the best option for you when it comes to finding people who are hidden somewhere, because somebody knows something, and we have ways to let them talk, to make them talk. So, and they will talk. And the IDF has many, many, many more ways and technological ways that I will not elaborate on, of how to locate these rats who are hiding like cowards underneath Gaza, while the people of Gaza are leaving their homes, losing the streets that they used to love, losing everything. So Hamas made them lose everything. And those of you who support Hamas, like I said, shame on you. Those of you who are allowing such protests in your cities and countries, shame on you. You don't do any justice for people in your country who don't want that around them. A lot of people don't want to see that. They don't want to see people supporting baby killers, okay? And I'm telling you, the only time an Arab or a Gazan civilians is hurt by an IDF, either bombing or an operation, is only not 9 out of 10 times, but 11 out of 10 times is because Hamas is using them as human shields. I have seen it up front. They use them as human shields. They put them in the house. They don't leave the house. They shoot from the house knowing the civilians are inside. But I'm sorry, when it comes to either the IDF soldier's life or the terrorist's life, the IDF soldier's life will always come first. And unfortunately, civilians pay the price. Some of them are even the families of the terrorists, and they go to sleep with them at night. And that's an opportunity that he got out of his bunker, out of his tunnel, to eliminate that. You know, Osama bin Laden was killed with his family. Nobody judged the U.S. Hey, what are you doing? He's got his wife there, so don't kill him. Or don't kill the wife, or give the wife water. No. You got to go after the bad guys. Guys, it's a war. It's a war we didn't choose. Israel has never had in its existence, not even in 1948, a more just of a war, a more justifiable reason to go and avenge the blood of beautiful angels that were slaughtered in their beds. If there is a reason to go to war, that's the reason. Hamas had the chance to release the hostages, every one of them. There is no need to negotiate for the hostages to be released, because why would we negotiate something that you created? You provoked us. You took these people. You committed a war crime, and we're going to negotiate with you just because you think that you hold them, so now you can negotiate? I always tell the IDF should fight Hamas like there were never any hostages, and at the same time try their best to find where the hostages are like there was never a war. Meaning underground, quietly, with intelligence, with patience. It's a price we have to pay. We cannot stop and let them regroup. They're moving like rats from one tunnel to the other. They're being smuggled. They dress up like women and get away from the battlefield. Hamas doesn't fight. I said it earlier in the group, in every encounter with the IDF, Hamas, and I hear it from the people there, Hamas are either running away or surrendering. Never fighting. Never fighting. Those who fight, they do it from far away with anti-tank missiles, but they don't fight face to face because the IDF is there in the masses with this motivation, morale, the best units, people there with going there for a purpose. And when a soldier goes to work for a purpose, when a soldier knows what they fight for, they're unstoppable. So I will keep you updated, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Again, this is not supposed to be a live show. I do them because it helps me save room for recording, but I'm going to start recording those and give you a lot of materials as much as I can when things develop mostly. So it might not be daily, but I might do short videos about things that happen during the day and not a long broadcast. But really for the people who kind of watch what's going on in the news, and the news, they don't always, even the news has narrative, okay? They got editors, they know exactly what to talk about and when to talk about it. They're told what to talk about in many cases, especially military correspondents. So we want to give you raw information, give you videos from the ground, from the battlefield, and tell you a little bit about the culture. So whenever you guys have a question, by the way, feel free to message us or to comment. And when we do one of these lives, I would love to have you participate, even as guests, so you can ask questions and know. And to me, it's important for everybody in the world to really side with good and just and what's right. And it's not because it could have been Switzerland and China right now fighting, and I would still side with the good guys. It's not because I'm from Israel. It's not about that. We're all enjoying October 7th morning up until that horde just hit us and dragged us into the reality of war. So I also want to send my prayers and my condolences to all the families, the IDF soldiers or the civilians who were killed today in action, as well as 5 American crew members, air crew members who lost their lives in a very unfortunate accident over the Mediterranean. May God bless their souls, and prayers to their family. Thank you so much for watching and listening. May God bless Israel, and may God bless the United States of America.